welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day I bring you insights from the most innovative minds in the tech world. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to today's guest. He's a digital pioneer who's been reshaping the landscape of online design for many years. He is the co-founder and CEO of the Freepik Company. And you may recognise Freepik. It has become the go-to resource for millions of people around the world seeking high-quality graphics, photos and vectors, etc. But what you may not know is the intriguing journey behind its inception and the revolutionary vision guiding its future. So today's guest started out as an engineer, transitioned into entrepreneurship, co-founded several startups before embarking on the Freepik journey. And as a former Google employee, he's got a few stories there as well, and also brings a philosophy of putting the user first into the foundation of his ventures. So we'll be diving into that, his invaluable insights on building a successful startup, maintaining financial health, the critical role of quality data, customer feedback, and so much more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Malaga in Spain. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
So thank you for having me here. I'm Joaquin Cuenca. I am CEO and co-founder of Freepik Company, previously founder of other startups. I've been in this industry for I think it's already close to 20 years, getting old. And this is it. I have a background in technology. I am an engineer. So that's it. I'm just trying to survive as CEO.
And there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, 20 years in the industry, an engineer background, founder of several companies. So I'm going to take you back in time for a moment here. Can you share your origin story, especially on your journey to becoming a founder, and share some significant learnings for current or future founders that might be listening? Because it sounds like there's a big story behind this that put you on this path, right?
Yeah, let me tell you this. Like, I would have never guessed that I will become like an entrepreneur. I was like very interested in math, in computer science. That was my thing. And a friend of mine actually asked me to join a little startup that they were creating in Barcelona, to join remotely. I helped them, and a few months later, that startup got acquired by eBay. And to me, it was like a watershed moment. It was like, what the hell is this? You got a guy that had one server on his living room. He was paying something like $50 on costs. And he was making a living out of that. So to me, it was like a whole new thing. It was not working for anyone else. It was just had an idea, created a website, and just made some money. And then that was worth like quite a lot of money. Like there were people interested in acquiring that. So there were many new things. That was around 2004. Next thing is I created a startup. It was called Panoramio. So it was, for those who don't know it, was right after Google Earth, Google Maps came alive. I got the idea to put photos on top of Google Maps. People were able to submit photos from all around the world. So the idea is to look at the world in a different way. It was a massive success. Like everyone wanted to chip in and show how their town, their city was, how good photographers they were. And they started sharing photos. And 2 years, it wasn't even 2 years later, like 1 year and a half later, we got acquired by Google. Yeah, so I started to, I came to Google. I grew up there kind of as an engineer. So I spent 3 years as tech lead of the project. And then I came back to Spain because I wanted to start again small, right? To me, the thing with Google is that it was huge. Now it is, even huger. That's a word. And I wanted to don't have to show up like billions in returns of, any action. I wanted to start small again. I came to south of Spain. I actually got a family here. So it was like personally, very fulfilling. And I started creating like some startups here. And a couple of them really blossom out. Like one of them is Freepik, that is, it's been for a few years, like taking my whole attention. The core idea of Freepik is how it started. Is we were working on another startup creating websites, and we were working like full speed, to make those sites, and we needed graphics to make them look good. Okay, and the problem is that we are bootstrap. I've always worked bootstrap. I never used the proceeds of previous startups to pay for new startups. So we are kind of, consciously, we are cash strapped. We like to make our own money in each venture. So we were fishing for free graphics on the internet. And that was very slow. To find good images that were free, legally free, it was a pain. So the core idea of Freepik is, let's make a search engine that helps people find great images fast. That was it. Okay, that's how we started, and it took off. Next thing is like we iterated on that. It's like we look at what people were looking for, the notion of being a search engine and then jump into another website. That obviously we took that from Google. Okay, it was like, that's what Google does. In our case, there was plenty of friction. Okay, it's kind of like when Google added like the knowledge database. When you search for something and it gives you straight away the answer, it's just a better experience instead of jumping to the website. So in our case, we wanted to put the images right on our website and don't ask people to go to a third party, register with the full thing to get the image that they were looking for. And the only way to do that was to actually make our own images. Yeah, so we started making them. We had the advantage that we knew what people were looking for, and we focused on that. We started creating those images. The quality raised. It was even faster to find what you were looking for. It was more convenient. We got more users, more data into what they were looking for. We created more content and so on. And until now.
Wow, what a great story. And I'm curious, as someone that's gone from Spain all the way to Google, then back to Spain again, but for people listening all around the world, what is it like inside of Google? Is it all multicolored beanbags and Google bikes and slides and things, or is that an illusion? What was it like?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. I mean, my time was in 2007, 2008. Yeah. Okay. In a way, it was right after the IPO. So you got the slides, you got the great food. It was, let me tell you this, like coming from Europe, at least in Spain, like the big companies, they have this image of you were a street, you were, things that were not flying for me. And then I remember the first time we were invited to Google in San Francisco, in Mountain View. We got in and we were in T-shirts. We were 29 at the time. So I was talking with my co-founder, longtime friend, Edu. And it was like, man, I don't know if we are well dressed for this. Like, I don't know if the T-shirt is clean, actually. And then I remember I was Brian McClendon, which was VC of Geo. Google. It was a big shot. Okay. Like, man, I'm getting nervous. He got in barefoot. It was like, yeah, it's okay. It was the ambience in the West Coast. It was completely different from the big companies, at least in Spain. I don't know if it's like that in the rest of Europe. I was living in France, and in France it was the same thing, so I assume it's kind of general. There, at least in San Francisco, there was another vibe, okay, for good and bad. And now it kind of degraded. I don't like how San Francisco is right now. But back then, man, there was some magic there. I really liked the ambience. And for me, I mean, Google may have plenty of flaws. To me, at least, how I went through that is it really helped me rise professionally. I started to understand. I always worked on what I only had like one previous professional experience in a company. We were like all of 6 engineers, something like that. And then it was like startups where it was like kind of the only engineer, or the founder, and that was it. And at Google already, we were like, I don't know if it was like 30,000, 20,000 people, something like that. You got PMs and never knew exactly what the hell that was. You got plenty of titles, and you start figuring out how the thing is organized. You get plenty of ideas for HR, like 360 reviews. So some of them, again, for good and bad. I don't take everything as, wow, that is amazing. There were things that I didn't like, but it really structured my mind on how to build a company. Was a huge influence for me.
Incredibly cool. And when I was doing a little research on you, one of the things that really stood out for me from the outside looking in is that both of your companies were bootstrapped to success. So kudos to you there. Is incredibly challenging. So I'm curious, what unique challenge did that approach bring, and how did you overcome them? Because again, it'd be incredibly valuable to any startup founders listening.
Yeah, I mean, there is really one. It is, to me, it's like, get real. I've seen some companies fail because they were so close to succeed. Like they really got failure from the jaws of victory, right? They got it. They got traction. They got people. And for some reason, they just ignore having like 100K in monthly costs.
Yeah.
Just focus on that, and you can get that down to 10K easily. And there is some mentality that cost doesn't matter. To us, it was always our money. And we come from relatively humble families, like middle class, right? It's not a Cinderella story or anything. We have been blessed in many ways, stable families, but really middle class. Don't know. The simple idea of just blowing away 10K just doesn't cross my mind. Okay, so you just look at that. It's like, don't fuck up with money. Okay, just don't lose it. When there is no need. Okay, try to make more money than what you spend. Spend some time there. It's not gonna be your focus. You want to build something. This should be your core. We are here. If your main goal is to make money, and I've seen this quite a few times, you're going to fail. Because as soon as you start to succeed, you stop succeeding. It's very easy to make, it's not trivial, okay? But once you start making like enough money, if that's your goal, then you made it. Okay? It's like, oh no, if you go to the gym to get ripped, once you start getting some muscle, it's like, okay, go, you meet your goal. Like you can shoot down the gym, is done. So people that they stick to the gym, they are looking for something else than getting ripped. They want to, to push themselves to the limit. So if you're building a company, you should have a different thing in mind than just money. But my advice is don't lose track of that. It's like, just make sure that you are making more money than what you spend. Simple as that. Somebody said that money for startup is like the gas on a car. Okay, so it's not the destination; it's what gets you to the destination. The problem with that is that people really downplays the role of money. It's just the gas. It's not. You want to get there. It's a different thing. But you really need the gas to get there. You really need it. Don't ignore it. Yeah. And just by getting real, you can get so far away. Like, I see many companies, for example, that focus on the technology. Okay. They want to have microservices all around the place. They want to, they build a monster that they barely understand, that costs like huge amounts of money to just maintain, when one single server dedicated can get you there. So start by the basics, look at your goal, your real goal, which is to serve the user. Okay, and just work it step by step.
And I love how you said that, focus on the user, focus on the problem, because I think all too often we've seen many entrepreneurs and founders focus on the technology first and end up creating a solution that's looking for a problem, or they're too early to market and it's not what people are looking for. And I know you've also emphasized the importance of selling exactly what people want. And I'm curious, how have you implemented this approach in your business, and what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs in this regard?
Yeah, I actually say that because I made that mistake myself. Yeah. So one of my startups was very focused on what are the cool things that we can do, and we were not looking at what users were looking for. Okay, and we failed. So how do we work on that? Is, the whole story of Freepik, how we grew all along. It was the main KPI for us is number of users, the number of visitors. It embodies like engagement, it embodies acquisition. There are many different metrics there, but you just look at the number of users. If it keeps growing, then you are making something that people want. You are on the right direction. If you don't, talk to them, try to understand why you are failing them. Okay. The number of times that you get with a user, you listen to them, and then it just clicks in your head. Of course, it's idiotic. We are doing it this way when they actually need is this other thing. Okay, it happens very, very often. There are many people. Some people focus on big numbers. Like, for example, myself by training, I'm very analytical. Okay, I'm kind of the scientific mindset. Okay, I look at big data. We insert plenty of things from big data. But I'm also a big fan of qualitative data. You talk to your users, you look at the things that they tell about you, you go for them, okay? You listen in forums, you go to Twitter, you search what they are telling about you, and you get in interviews with them. And that gives you plenty of direction.
And assuming any startup founder listens to everything that we've advised so far, they're going to be incredibly successful. And their next thing on their plate is going to be scaling their business. So what are your thoughts on scaling a business before it's entirely ready, doing it too soon? Are there any experiences or examples or lessons that you've learned from premature scaling? Because it's something we don't talk about enough, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there is premature scaling both in organization and in technology. Like, sometimes you build up something for a public that never comes. Again, then it's a complete loss because you made it too complicated. Again, at Google, there was a saying. It's like, make a system that can take 10 times the load that you have today, but not a system that can take 100 times the load that you have today. And the reason for that is 100 times, you still don't know what are the issues. Okay. And it's just premature. Maybe you will not get there. Okay. So don't solve a problem that you don't have. And it's exactly the same thing with the organization. In general, every time you add more people, you reduce the effectiveness of the team. So when you add somebody, you should really need them. Because keep in mind that in general, you are reducing the effectiveness for people. Okay. Be very picky with who you bring on board. And really, that's something, again, it comes directly from the thing about the money. Is you're trying to save money, you're trying to don't spend the money that you don't have, you will usually not get the wrong people on board because you're going to be very careful with who you bring in. Okay, so try to be, it's like scarcity is good sometimes. Not having too many people is sometimes is a good thing because you're going to focus, you're not going to launch something very, very complex. You have 20 people, you may be tempted of just making something complex. And if it doesn't work, it's because you need one more thing that you didn't build. And that's never the truth. What happens is that you didn't get it right. Maybe you need one less thing, and you need to change a few things that you did. I've seen very often, like, one of our start projects is SlidesGo. The SlidesGo was started with a team of 2 people. And it was 2 people for 1 year. It really took off. One of the projects that we launched that failed inside Freepik is Toothpad. Toothpad, it was a website with tutorials, with how-tos, with videos explaining how to do things related to graphics. And I remember when we got in the translation team for Toothpad. So the translation team, we were in one single language, English, and we thought, okay, maybe we are failing because we still don't have Spanish and Portuguese and whatever, okay? And that was a big mistake. Instead, we should have focused on English. Let's first of all succeed on that, okay? Get traction there. And then we talk about new languages to expand if needed. But the English is already pretty big, okay? Instead of that, we started getting into more languages, and we got like 4 languages in one shot just to accelerate, okay? But we got plenty of problems because of that decision, and that was my decision. Yeah, we got the team, and then the next thing that happened is that as we hired the whole team on one shot, they developed their own culture. And there were cultural issues between that team and the rest of the company. There were plenty of issues because we were trying to get ahead of ourselves. We still didn't have proof that we had the right product in English. That's not the right time to expand into new domains. It's time to fix your shit. It's not, you don't fix it like adding more crap to it. You fix it getting the right things, and when it blossoms, eventually you start thinking, okay, what's the next thing? But first of all, get it right. Okay, don't get away from your failure. You need to confront it and be honest and work on it until you get traction.
Fantastic advice. And we've mentioned people there. And although this is a tech podcast, we're talking about tech startups and technology at the heart of everything. Of course, investing in the right people is a critical part of any business success. Is there any strategies or insights you can share on how to identify and attract the right people, especially at a time where tech skills are a huge shortage at the moment?
Well, I don't know, that there are many books about it, right? It's a huge topic, and you're right. It's absolutely fundamental. Our case was, I will say, a bit special. Again, the reason for that is, I hope that doesn't sound the wrong way. We are in south of Spain. We're in Malaga. In Malaga, to give you some context, the main industry is tourism. And there was basically nothing else. Okay. So when I got here, that was in 2010, there was no tech industry in the city. And to me, you get educated at university, but then there is, the second part of your education has to keep going on the industry. You get out of the university and you keep learning. You keep growing professionally. Yeah. If you don't have strong tech companies in your ecosystem, you cannot grow. You're missing on that professional growth. Okay. So when we got here, there was plenty of people with great talent, okay, with mentally equipped to do great things, but they had not yet gone through that stage of maturing professionally because they have been in demanding positions in tech startups. So in a way, we needed to just adapt to the environment. What we did is that we got people that were fresh out of university, sometimes fresh out of high school, and we teach them. We needed to invest a lot into just growing them professionally, putting them into tough jobs, into tough positions, sitting with them and saying, listen, this is the way we do it here. These are the things that you need to look for. No, maybe they didn't talk about this in university, but those are the problems that we have here. And at the end, sometimes it doesn't work, and then you need to cut your losses. But very often they step up. And it's been a game that is taking years, but now we have a team that is delivering. We have a very efficient team, relatively small for what we do, and we do great quality products. We also managed to attract some external talent, people from other countries that have great experience. And we are fortunate enough that Malaga is a brilliant place to live. Its quality of life is excellent. Mediterranean city, it has plenty of advantages. So many people are ready to come here, and they are doing it. And they also help us step up the game of the team. But I don't know, it's difficult to me to give like one tip. In our case, it was like trusting people, even when they don't look like what you're looking for. Just have some faith that is inside them, that the reason why they look junior is because they still haven't got the right coaching. Okay, so you need to help them on that route. Just like I was helped, when I got into Google, I needed to learn. It was not just on my mind. Okay, I needed to look at how people were working there, what were they doing, what were the challenges, read, understand, act. And it has been the same thing here.
And I've seen many brands and businesses focus more on their competitors and what they're doing than their own solution a lot of the time. And another thing that I came across when I was researching you was that you believe in focusing on the product, not the competitors. And that is actually crucial for business success. So can you expand on that and how you've been able to put that into practice within your companies too? Because it can get incredibly distracting, can't it? Looking over your shoulder, what other people are doing.
Yeah. And it's very tempting. Like I've done that like a couple of times. It never works. You're chasing somebody that is just playing at their strength. It's like, I don't know, it's like if you want to win against Messi or Mbappe, whoever is the best soccer player today or football player today, is try to play something else than football. Okay, because otherwise you're not gonna win. In our case, I remember a swim race where I saw there was a swimmer that got number one, and number two was like 1 millisecond behind him or something like that. And there was a shot, like right before the end. The guy that was on second position was looking at the other guy to see where he was, and he lose for 1 millisecond. And it's like, don't look at the other guy, look at Victor. You have to look at your goal. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. If you do your job, if you listen to your customers, are smart and understand what they need and build to their needs, they are not going to win you. You're going to be on the front line. You're going to be one step ahead. And I've seen that, like, again, it happened like a couple of times because it's very tempting. You're tempted to bootstrap the process. Like, you think that the other guys are very smart and they did a lot of research already. So whatever they decided is the grail, is the right thing to do. And then you are like second player into something where there is already somebody doing it better than you. Why will anyone pick you? It doesn't work. It's way more genuine to look at the users and come up with your own answers. At least you will be authentic. And people buy that.
Fantastic advice. And I'm also curious, if we look across the creative landscape, how would you say your work at Freepik has influenced the design space in particular? And in turn, what trends in the design industry have impacted Freepik? Because it seems that there's so much going on in this space and everyone's looking at each other and everyone's influencing each other. And it's great for the creative space, but I'm just curious how it's impacted you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that we were lucky enough to bet on the big macro trend in design, which is that people were moving from pixels to vectors. Okay, and that's the big thing that we saw. People move away from Photoshop into Canva, Figma, Illustrator, whatever. There has been a big trend on moving away from photos into vectors. And when we started, Freepik was all about vectors, illustrations. That's our big thing. Okay, that's where we are better than anyone in the world. So that's a big trend. And I will say that we help develop that trend. We give people many, many vectors and illustrations to build upon them. And the big thing that we did for the industry, at least in my mind, this is part of who we are. I mentioned multiple times that we are in Southwest Spain. We are the underdog. No one was expecting us to win. Okay. And I will say the same thing happens to many of our users and to most of our contributors. Yeah, let me tell you like an anecdote. I was reviewing once the tax residence certificate, okay, which is a document that we need to provide to tax authorities from our contributors. And I was reviewing the tax certificates from people in Indonesia. And looking, we have many contributors and many female contributors. And the female contributors were submitting the certificate of their husband together with a wedding certificate, sometimes with a photo of the wedding. And of course, my thing was like, yeah, this is crap. It doesn't work. Like, I need your certificate, not your husband's certificate. And then lawyers from Indonesia came back saying, no, that's the right thing. That's legally the right thing. It's like, okay, in a way, I like to think that we empower contributors in very diverse cultures, and we made them make a living selling their illustrations, we made at them, I think more than anyone else in this industry, on Southeast Asia and Latin America, not the traditional markets. I think we are the underdogs, our contributors are the underdogs, many of our users are the underdog, and yet we succeed. So, I like to think that the thing that put us apart from other giants in this industry is that we exemplify that talent is everywhere. Okay, it's just sometimes we don't have like the right chances, the right opportunities. We are trying to level a little bit the playing field.
I love that, and that underdog vibe, and of course also what's democratizing creativity at the moment is artificial intelligence. It's everywhere online. It's the discussion in every workplace, every tech conference and business conference. So can you expand on how Freepik is also leveraging AI and where you see AI taking the design industry in the near future? Because there's so much going on. It's just evolving at breakneck speed, isn't it?
Yeah, let me be honest here. First time when I saw DALL-E 1, the first one, I was like, no way. What the hell? I mean, it's impossible. You look at the quality and it was like, well, it's not there. Yeah, no way. The last 10% is going to take 90% of the work, whatever. Next year, I saw DALL-E 2 and it was like, this is here. It's here. It really made it. And then I completely flipped mentally. It was like, we need to go all in on this. We started building a team internally on Freepik to do AI. The first goal was actually very pragmatic. As you can by now that we are very pragmatic people. The first thing that we did is to improve our search engine with this new tech to help people find what they were searching for. Okay, that has been a huge success, and now we are getting into the whole generative AI thing. To me, if we stay true to what we initially were trying to accomplish when we created the company, which is help people make great designs fast. That was what we were doing. Okay, AI is a fantastic tool to help us do that, and I think it will help all our users achieve what they want. To me, it's still very immature. There has been a huge breakthrough on the core tooling that helps people create images, but there is still a whole ecosystem around it. It's not yet mature. We have launched an AI image generator. We are going to launch more things along the way. To me, the whole thing is not yet cohesive. We are not yet giving a great experience to users. Yeah, this is something that I think ourselves and the whole industry, I think we are going to advance very rapidly on this.
And we've spoke at length about the importance of users and your customers there. And for any members of the Freepik community that are listening, hoping for a teaser about your future plans. Is there anything you can share around that? And also how those future plans might align with the current trends that we're seeing in design and technology industries? Is there anything you can share around the road ahead?
Yeah, listen, one thing, we don't have a crystal ball, right? But what happened every single time that we got a breakthrough in productivity is that there are actually more jobs in the industry rather than less, which is counterintuitive, but it has happened every single time. That's like first stage, okay, of you increase the productivity and then you discover that many people were not having a good experience before. It was impossible to fulfill their needs before because it was too costly. You think about it, but how often we will need a bespoke image. There are many cases that just could not pay an illustrator to make it. It will not be delivered on time. It will not be like, think about somebody that is writing a blog post and wants a hero image for his blog post, which is an illustration. And it's impossible. You need it like 1 month before the blog post is published, to get an illustrator working on that. It was going to be super expensive. It was not working. And there are so many use cases like that is crazy. There are basically just in the world 2 industries that were able to pay illustrators. One of them is animation, and the other one is video games. Video games alone used to spend, I think it's north of 80 billion a year on illustrations, on images. So if you can reduce that cost by 5, what you're going to get is not a reduction of 5 in the cost. What you're going to get is a multiplication of 5 on the number of games. Okay, and typically, this is a long game, but my intuition is that we are going to see this industry dramatically increasing in size on the coming years, having a deeper impact in society, because it will be so much easier to create images for everyone.
And I think that's an incredibly powerful moment to end on. But before I do let you go, I can't thank you enough for spending a little time with me today and sharing so many valuable insights from 20 years or more than 20 years in the industry. But I'd like to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift, and that is a book that has inspired you that we can add to our Amazon wish list, or maybe a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is, what would you like to leave everyone listening with, and why?
In the case of books, the problem that I have is that I am not too much into the management books. Okay, so there are some pretty good ones, but my heart is really not there. Okay, so I will recommend one that inspires me at the time was Founders at Work. It's pretty thin. You can read it like very quickly, but it had like plenty of stories about founders quitting companies, their struggles. It was pretty interesting. But if you get out of the industry and more into tech, I remember a book that really inspired me, which was the Black Book from Abrash, which is all about micro optimization in assembler, but he makes it like really funny to follow along. And it's not updated. Okay, so it is something you read it because you love engineering, because you love challenges, and in that way, I think it's still making the job. And if you want to get out of the whole industry and everything and just inspiration in general, I really like Les Miserables from Victor Hugo. It's a lovely book. So I remember an advice I got is, if you want to be a better photographer, try to be more interesting. It's not about the technique or anything. It's being more rounded as a person. I think that also works as an entrepreneur. If you are more interesting, you will come up with better ideas. Try to step out of the whole management thing, tech, for a little while. Take a look at the world. So I will stick with my suggestion to Les Miserables. Whoever pick it, it's going to be like a few weeks within that.
Awesome. Well, I'll get that added straight to our Amazon wish list. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more about Freepik, the work that you're doing, maybe join your community or contact your team, what's the best place to start for all things Freepik?
Well, for all things Freepik, it's going to be freepik.com. You can take a look at our company, freepikcompany.com. There you can look at the team and the job positions that we have open. There you can also find their reference on how to become a contributor, how you can submit your creations, your images to Freepik. But I would recommend freepik.com as a step number one to understand who we are.
Awesome. Well, so many cool insights from lessons learned from running 2 successful bootstrap companies, the importance of selling what people want, scaling before a business is ready and the dangers around that, and the importance of investing in the right people, focusing on product, not competitors. Pure gold in there. But more than anything, just thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and share your story today.
Thank you so much.
Wow, what an incredible guy and an incredible story. He's been added to my cool guys I want to share a beer with. So hopefully we can make that happen in the near future. And I'd love to hear your views on anything we talked about today, especially if you work in the creative or design industry. Do you use Freepik? Have you got anything you want to add to today's conversation? Just email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @NeilC.Hughes. We'll keep this conversation going, but it's time for me to get out of here. So thank you for listening today. And until next time, don't be a stranger.